Welcome to day 5. Hopefully, time flies when you're having fun, and you guys are having fun and enjoying this course so far. Um, as we said, the end of yesterday, you had all the tools to start your project, so if you're at least thinking about what you want to do and how you want to incorporate your personal presentation and experience with your church into this project, which would be really great. Today, we're going to talk about projection and copyrights. On how to get all that hard work we did so people can actually see it, and also how to keep ourselves out of trouble, even doing so accidentally, as I mentioned I may have done before. So one of the things we want to talk about is how we're going to project all this hard work. I can tell you what our church does, and next week we're actually going to get to see everybody's churches a little bit on a mini project we're going to do. And again, it's a fun project, so don't get stressed out on getting it done, but it'll be a fun little project, and you kind of show off your church. But we'll get into that next week, where we use video, whether it be a camcorder or even your cell phone, using the video on that. Alright, projection. So many ways to do it, so little time. Some of you may have seen some of these different venues before. The two most common ways I've seen are projector and screen and HD TV. Now, when we were looking to do it at our church, and again, we have a smaller church, I thought projector. I got tired of putting the screen, exactly that type of screen, up every week that I wanted to do something. I just wanted to have something up on the wall, done, mounted, so all I got to do is hit a few buttons and we're set to go. So I went out, got permission to look into it, got some prices. When we had the gentleman come out to take a look at the church, he basically said, you know what? Instead of getting a screen and a projector, get a TV. And I'm like, okay, it's a salesman who's trying to sell us something. But depending upon how you're going to set this up in your church, it may be cheaper to go the TV route versus a projector and a screen. Now again, there's a lot of variables that go into play here, and you have to adjust it to your church. If it's something that's going to be used once in a blue moon, projector and screen might work great for you. You're going to have to price that out. And again, the uses and how often you're going to use it. You can also, like we were initially looking at, putting a screen on the wall where it's mounted, not the portable type that you see on the screen there, but one that you can either lower manually or electronically, raise and lower it, and it's in a small, I guess, tube-like structure when it's all wrapped up. So there are options there. The TV ended up being cheaper, and the reason the TVs ended up being cheaper, because we got two 55-inch TVs, is because the projector, where it would have to be in the back of the church, because we have a tin ceiling, nobody wanted to punch a hole in there and drop a projector down. If we had it all the way in the back, it would need a special lens so that it would project directly onto the screen and not well bigger than the size of the screen. As you'll see when you use these projectors, the closer you have it to the screen, the smaller the screen is, the further back you bring it, the bigger the screen will be. So it's all going to depend on what you need and how close it is, what will be the best. Now our sister church doesn't have an issue with the ceiling, so they drop a pull down, have it mounted on there, it's all set to go. They got a little remote that they hit that turns it on and off. And then they do have the screen that stays down all the time. So again, it's going to be based upon your church, but price out all options. That way you're a little bit more educated consumer if you're going to buy it. Like I said, TVs work good for us. In the end up being the best. You're going to need to know different connections too, as well, as we get into that. TV connections. Just to go over a few, not going to make you a technological genius when we get done with this, as far as hooking up camcorders, VCRs, and all that stuff, but we can give you some basic knowledge on some of the different connections. Some people will look at this and say, oh my goodness, what do I hook up to where? Or you'll have cables coming out everywhere and it'll look like spaghetti. Real easy. Most HD TVs have probably, at least this is a minimum, what you're seeing here. We start out with, in the circle there, that's the USB port. If you want to project stuff, you could actually have a cable in here and have it come down, plug in your USB, and if you had pictures or something on there, movies, you could actually get them to be displayed up on the screen. That's really cool. That way you can do a slideshow of some event that you saved all these pictures on and have them continually going. A lot of the TVs will actually have it pre-programmed for a slideshow. So you can hit it instead of you using the remote to go picture by picture by picture. It'll do it every so many seconds. Very similar to what we were talking with one of the uses of PowerPoint. You can do that and set that up. So here's one connection, and again, you can plug it in the back of the TV if you have easy access. Plug that USB right into it, or have a cable come down like an extension cord. That way you'll be able to reach it at all times. We set my wife's computer or TV up in her classroom like this, and that way she doesn't have to try to find the port every time. All she has to do is plug it into basically an extension cord that has USB on one end and a male USB on one end and a female on the other, and you just plug the USB into that cable. The next thing that's kind of getting older and older and you're not seeing as much of, actually I guess you're seeing more of this than the other one, is the phono plugs. They're various colors. Normally your standard is red, white, and yellow. Yellow is usually always the video portion of the signal, and your white and your red are the audio. Now there's a bunch of other ones there for super high definition and all kinds of other stuff that we really don't need to get into for a church service. If you want to, by all means, the information's out there, but the main ones we would deal with are the white, yellow, and red. The yellow and red, the white and red being the audio. The white would be if it's monaural or single, or if it would be stereo, it would be both of them. You'd have a right and a left cable. Next thing we see there is the 75 ohm connection. This is what most of us grew up with cable TV. You plug it in, you'll have a connector, which we'll show you in a little bit. It has a center core conductor. It goes in the center and then it screws on, or it slides on depending upon the type of connection you have. Just a 75 ohm cable, it handles the audio and the video on one cable as opposed to the other phono cables that have separate video audio. Usually pretty easy, and again, depending upon your church, how it's laid out, you might use one or the other. The big one though we're seeing now is HDMI. This is the one most TVs have now. Most components have. Your DVD players and all have this, and they go from HDMI from your component into your TV. The neat thing about this too is you can hook it directly from a computer or a laptop. Usually have these ports as well, so you can go right from a computer right into your TV. So if you have a PowerPoint on there, this could be the way you do it. We have a conversion thing because of the distance we have. So it comes out of the computer HDMI, goes into a little box or converter, and changes it to what we call Cat5 cable. For those of you who are not familiar with that, it's a computer type cable, and the ends look like a big phone jack. The kind of jacks you plug the phone into, the jacks in the wall, that clear like box, except it's a little bit bigger, and that's what they call a Cat5 cable. The box converts it to two of them, which go all the way to the TVs, and they're actually then converted into the box again and converted back to HDMI. Again, that was a distance thing, and that's why they did it on ours. You might be able to do it depending upon how your church is laid out, just with an HDMI cord. Get along one of those. So there's some options for the TV end. Some TVs even have, and we'll show it on the next clip, the monitor or the projector cables that come out of the computer, the blue cables. They'll go right into there as well, so they might have a port on the TV for that as well. One other thing that isn't shown in this picture that some TVs have, not all of them, they may or may not have the USB port, but they also might have an SD slot where you can take the cards that are in the cameras and actually plug them in and do the same thing you can with that USB, using it as a storage disk, and be able to project pictures and movies. Here was the female end, and they get hooked together. That can come in play as far as if we're connecting two of those together, we might need a double female. So just knowing the terminology, so if we need to extend it, or we know what we need to plug into what. Do we need a male end or a female end, and what size, how many pins are we going to need. So that's usually, projection usually comes from a laptop or a computer, and then goes into a monitor or a projector rather, or it could go into an HD TV if it has that port. In the center is the main cable you'll see, one of the more common ones, and that's the HDMI. You'll notice it looks very similar to the USB, but it has angles on it at the top. So you have a little bit narrower end at the top and a little bit wider at the bottom. And that's how you can pretty much identify a HDMI port on a computer from a USB port. USB is more square or rectangular. And last but not least, again, kind of going away, but it's the 75 ohm cord. That's the one where you see the things where you screw that on there. You can't see it in the picture, but in the center there's a wire that comes out. You plug that into the threaded portion of the TV, and that gives you the audio or video. Normally coming from the cable company coming in, and or could be from a component to the TV. Again, they're kind of getting away from them and going more phono and HDMI than they are that, but since it is out there, I wanted to make sure you guys got to see that. Alright, here's where we're going to have a little fun. We're going to do a mini project. It's going to take a couple days, nothing too dramatic, but could be fun. We're going to take some type of video. We can use a camcorder if we have it, and we have the ability to transfer that file or document so we can upload it somewhere. Or you could use your cell phone and just email or text from your phone that video. If you have no technology in the church, no problem. We can take, what we wanted to do is kind of take a picture of your church and your video setup, what you guys have in your church. We thought that might be beneficial. That way everybody can kind of see what everybody has and maybe get some different ideas. Now, if you don't have technology in your church, not a problem. We still want to get you to learn how to do it. So what we could do is, and if you want to get, really into this program, you could do both. We can take a video of your church. Show us your church. What does it look like on the outside, the inside? Tell us a little bit about your church, the history, what you do. Maybe your favorite pew, where you sit, or anything about your church. The point is to take a video, and then we're going to work on it and be able to use this next week to project it so other people can see it, because we can either upload it to the discussion group, or another thing we're going to do and work on a little bit next week is using YouTube and how we can upload that video to YouTube. We can get the link from there, and then once we get the link, anybody can watch it. You could email that link out and everybody could see it. So I thought it'd be kind of a neat thing to do, just a mini project. And again, we're having fun here, so don't get too stressed out. If you have any questions over the weekend, please feel free to shoot me an email as I have time. I know I'm teaching another class, kind of different from technology. I'm teaching how to bandage people up. But I'll be around, so I can answer any questions, try to help you out with that project if you need a hand. So I think it's going to be a fun project. Okay, options for sharing. Again, we're going to show you how to use YouTube. So you might want to get a jump ahead, which you can do, and we don't have to complete the project, but it's really simple. You guys were able to sign up for Be a Disciple and get on this class. Go to YouTube and sign up for an account. Get account. It's nothing more than getting a new Facebook account or anything else. Get your name, you put your email address in, password, and so forth. Or, and again, this is either or. The technology end, though, it might be nice to use too. If you don't want to do that, we can also do it on the discussion board, and we could upload a video right there. YouTube, I think, is the better way to go, because now we have a whole new mission we could do in our church. We do it, and I'll give you an example of ours so you can kind of see ours. In fact, it looks like you might get lucky, because until the pastor preaches next, mine's the last service. I did the sermon last week. You'll get to see, and you could put on your website, you could put on, you could email out to people. They can't get out for church, and they could watch the service right on their computer, their cell phone, their iPad, their tablet, you name it. So it's kind of neat there. So if you get time, you want to do this, try to go on YouTube, set up an account, and next week we'll project, or we'll continue this where we take that video and we upload it. Alright. Last thing we want to talk about a little bit is the copyright. Copyright you need to be concerned with, especially when you're using stuff off the internet. You have to make sure that when you're sharing or sharing stuff with the public, or is being publicly viewed, that whatever material isn't copyright protected, or if it is copyright protected, that you have permissions to project that. A lot of us, when we have hymnals, a lot of times recently we get the audio CDs that come with it, and they allow us to use that. If we don't have maybe an organist or a pianist, we can play that. But there's copyright stuff that goes with that. The other thing we do once a month, we have a movie night. Those movies, since they are being projected and it's being given publicly, we have to purchase a copyright license. So these things we have to look into to make sure that we don't break any copyright infringements when we're doing public viewing. Now, you making up prayers and stuff and putting them on or on PowerPoint, not a big deal. But when you go to use hymns, when you go to use Bible verses, wherever you're getting that material from, unless you're just typing it out, obviously from the Bible, you have to acknowledge them. When we do Bible Gateway, I showed you that copyright, where you cut and paste that in there. If you look on the site, they'll let you know what permissions you have. Is it public domain where you got carte blanche, or do you have to do certain things in order to keep that when you reproduce it? Another copyright thing we do a Bible a Day trivia question on Facebook. We got this book from the Great Bible Challenge, and I'm like, oh, this would be great. I don't have to look through the Bible, come up with questions. This is great. But it's copyrighted. So what I did was I emailed the author and said, listen, here's what I'd like to do. Can I do it? He replied back, absolutely no problem. Now I have documentation that I asked permission and they verified that it was okay. It's something we don't think about a lot, but we do need to be cognizant of because we don't want to get in trouble. I told you before, when I was making websites up, I learned how to do that and I thought I made the best websites. I took pictures and you just right click and cut, paste and all that good junk. And next thing I know, I'm technically violating copyright and didn't know it. So I want you guys to be aware when you're out there doing this and using this stuff, make sure that the copyrights are covered. You're going to have to look individually in each one just to find out what's proper and what isn't, because everything's so different. So be cognizant of that. Look on the site. Usually there's a requirement, what you have to do to post, or you can't post, or you can email somebody to try to get permission, explain what you're doing. In most places, for nonprofits, they're not going to have an issue, but you got to secure that permission. Like I said, you can also do the copyright licenses for different things like our movies. Alright, that wraps up week 1. Today's the last day of week 1, get caught up on all the assignments, and you have the weekend to catch up. If you were backed up, life happens. If you get backed up, catch up this weekend. Again, if you need anything, shoot me an email, and I'll help you out the best I can. Take time to catch up on all the discussion boards, comment on everybody's posts, or as many people as you can. We're going to try to get at least 2 a day. Practice going over some of the sites, viewing the sites, playing like we said, and get used to working with the programs. Start thinking about that video too, and try to maybe just get a profile. Again, we don't have to get into it, we'll get into it next week. Just get a profile made up for YouTube and start thinking about the mini project and what you want to do. Again, we're not video editors, we're not doing a TV show here. We're just getting you to practice so you can do this. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it, and you can clean it up and do that. We're not taking off points for that was out of alignment. We're not worried about any of this. This is getting used to using the technology. So relax and have fun with it. All right? Have a good weekend.